Hello YouTube and Facebook and whatever other social media format you might happen to be using. Chris Hludzik here with another of the Chris Hludzik Explains series. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, and basically I'm doing this video as just kind of an update to let those of you who are interested or do follow me know what I've been up to. It's been a pretty quiet year so far, 2018. Haven't done anything musically, although I do plan on doing some things. But before I get into that, I just want to talk about the past year, 2017, because in 2017 I did do quite a lot of stuff. About a year ago, actually I think a year to the day, I released a single called Like Ian Hunter, and put that out on Bandcamp, and then about a month or so later followed that up with releasing my entire discography on Bandcamp. And I have to say, you know, it's nice to have everything in one place, but, you know, everybody's on Bandcamp, so I kind of feel like it's not really that special, and it doesn't make me any more special to have all my stuff on Bandcamp, but it is nice to have it all in one place, and that was really the purpose of me doing it. You know, I wasn't trying to, like, you know, make my catalog seem special now that it was on Bandcamp, you know. Although I did do, you know, a lot of different stuff with it. You know, all the releases got bonus tracks, you know, extra liner notes and different artwork for one of the releases. And, you know, so I did try to make it somewhat special, but I haven't had any downloads on my Bandcamp page. And honestly, I really can't figure out why, because I think the albums are priced pretty reasonably. The albums are $7. I think I have the EP up there for, I think, $4, and I have my single up there for $1. So it's not like they're expensive. As far as the bonus tracks go, I have the bonus tracks available to purchase separately. I know a lot of bands, when they re-release stuff, they will, you know, make you buy the entire album digitally to get the bonus tracks. And I've never been a fan of that. I always hated that, especially since I'm a person that I like to own a physical copy of the album. But if I'm a fan of the band or the musician, I like to have the bonus tracks as well. But I don't want to buy the album twice. So, I mean, if there's anybody out there that, you know, did buy, you know, my releases, you know, on CD originally, and don't want to pay for, you know, the album again just to get bonus tracks, you don't have to. You can just buy the bonus tracks if you want to. And the great thing about Bandcamp is I believe if you become a member of Bandcamp, a paid member or something like that, get a subscription to it, you could stream everything on Bandcamp, you know, unlimited. So you don't even have to, you know, technically pay for it. I mean, you're paying for it, I guess, through a monthly subscription, but, you know, you're not actually committing to buy it. That seems to be a big thing with music, especially, you know, local music in small areas such as Northeast PA, and I'm sure everywhere else throughout the country. You know, nobody wants to take a chance on, you know, somebody that's making music in their area. And I find that kind of funny, because I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, you know, oh, I wish that, you know, I had something new to listen to or something different to listen to. And there's a lot of different stuff to listen to, and there's a lot of new stuff to listen to. It's not just what's on the radio or what's in the mainstream. There's people right here in this area making great music just as good, if not better, than anything that's on the radio. All you have to do is take a chance. And like I said, if you have, you know, a Bandcamp subscription, you could listen to it for basically free. Even if you don't have a Bandcamp subscription, you can usually go on somebody's Bandcamp page and listen to a song once or twice for free before you're prompted to buy it. So you could listen to it a couple times before you have to decide if it's worth your money or not. So I never saw what the hesitation was, you know, and I myself have been really surprised by a lot of the great stuff that's in this area, and, you know, things I wasn't really aware of and things like that. And sometimes as musicians, we kind of get lost in our own, you know, in our own bubble. You know, we have certain people we listen to and certain bands and musicians that we play with when we do shows, and we kind of tend to just follow them. But there's a lot of other great stuff out there that you might not be aware of and that you might really be a fan of. And the thing with me is, if you don't like my stuff, that's fine. I'm not offended by it. But I hate when I hear people say, oh, there's nothing to listen to, or oh, I don't know what to listen to next. And I've been making music now as a solo musician for over a decade. And there's a lot of people around here who haven't heard of me, or maybe you heard me once or twice, and give me a chance. You know what I mean? That's all it takes, and it costs you literally nothing. And like I said, all my albums are very reasonably priced. And again, like I said, if you already own the albums on CD and you just want the bonus tracks, you can just buy the bonus tracks. So yeah, there's that. And the other thing is, like I said, there's a lot of other great music coming out of the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Northeast Pennsylvania area. If you just type in Scranton or Wilkes-Barre or Northeast PA or NEPA or whatever in the search engine on Bandcamp, a lot of great bands and musicians from this area will come up. And again, all I got to do is give it a listen. Another thing that I find really interesting about Bandcamp is that you get stats if you go into it, if you're on Bandcamp and you have your music on Bandcamp, and you can see how many plays you got, and more specifically, you can see how far into a song people played. So if somebody played, half a song, it'll show this song got half a play, or this song, and I've always found that kind of interesting. It's to me, it's if you're gonna listen to a song halfway through, why would you just not listen to the rest of it? You know what I mean? You've come that far, go the rest of the way. I find that interesting. But regardless, despite the fact that it's not perfect, Bandcamp is really cool. Just for the sole purpose of getting all of my music in one place. Because prior to that, it was a CD here, digital download here. This one was on iTunes. This one was whatever. So it was cool to be able to get all of that out in one place. So in addition to the new single and releasing my back catalog all in one place on Bandcamp last year, I also put out 2 further new releases that were sort of archival releases, I guess you can call them. One was a live album called Live at Duffy's, which was a CD release show from 2012 for my Dissonance Meets Harmony album. And the other one was called Rarities and Casualties, which was a demos collection, unreleased tracks. And again, I thought that was kind of cool to put that stuff out. And again, no action on it. A few plays for a few of the songs, and then other than that, nothing. And it kind of blew my mind because I'm a big fan of demos, B-sides, rarities. Not just for the rarity aspect of it, but just because it's cool to see where a lot of the stuff came from and how it started out, and where it progressed to. And I've always been a fan of that and been interested in that. And I thought other people would be as well. And apparently I was wrong. Then again, a lot of people might not be totally familiar enough with my work to want to delve into rarer stuff. But again, all my work is available in that one place, so it wouldn't be much of a stretch to go back and listen. But regardless, I have it up there, and it is what it is. It's up there if you want to hear it. But that leads me to this year, 2018, and that's kind of the reason why I haven't really been that urgent to get anything else out, because I have so much other stuff out there that either people haven't heard yet or haven't heard that much, and I kind of feel like, why should I spend time making something brand new when there's old stuff out there that really hasn't been fully exposed yet. I think that's a trap that a lot of musicians in this area get into. Is, their previous release won't even really have lived its full life yet, so to speak, and they're already working on another one or already releasing another one. And I was always very cautious about that, and I always wanted to let my releases kind of run their course before I did something new. Because sometimes it takes people a while to catch up and see what you're doing, and if you're too prolific, I find that it can be a bad thing. There's some bands and musicians that I'm a fan of that, there were certain points in their careers that they were very prolific, releasing a ton of stuff, and I couldn't keep up with it all. And I just, by the time I was just getting into their last release, they were already putting something else new out, and it was so impossible to keep up with. And not only that, but I find that, when you release a ton of stuff like that, the quality kind of gradually goes down, whether they notice it or not, or whether their fans notice it or not. And, my goal has always been, I want to improve. I want the next thing I do to be better than the last thing I did. And, I think when you work at such a pace like that, that's kind of hard to accomplish. So I would rather have a lot of time between releases and have those next releases be really good than, just keep pushing stuff out and have it be kind of subpar. I just feel like that's a better way of doing it. And again, the other thing is that there's so much music coming out on a, weekly basis from, national musicians and, international musicians and local musicians that, if you're a music fan, it's so hard to digest it all. And ultimately, you as a music fan have to make a choice of what you're going to buy, what you're going to listen to. And if there's so much stuff competing, for a space in your collection, it's sometimes makes it hard to make a choice. And unfortunately, if you're a local musician, usually, you're the one that gets edged out, and, they'll buy, a national act's album or something like that. And again, nothing wrong with that. But I find that the less I put out, the more meaningful it is when it does come out. And so that's why I haven't really put out a lot of stuff, And for anyone who has followed me, if you notice, there's been a pretty good gap between everything that I've done. There was a 4-year gap between Yours and Rock and Distance Meets Harmony. There was a 2-year gap between Distance Meets Harmony and the Nervous No More EP. Then there was a 3-year gap between that and the Like Ian Hunter single. So, it hasn't been one thing after another after another. I put something out, let it have some time to be out there and, let it get exposed and let people, be able to, absorb it, as opposed to just keep, rushing stuff out, And the reason I bring this up is because, a lot of my friends and people have asked me, why don't you release something else? Why don't you release something, and you haven't done anything in a while. And well, it's like I said, I don't feel a need to. Nobody is clamoring for a new Chris Hludzik release right now. But the fact of the matter is that when you don't release something, a lot of people think, oh, well, the well's dried up and they're out of ideas and, they're done. And I'm far from done. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of stuff out there. It's just a matter of when it's the right time for it. The reason I did the Nervous No More EP back in 2014 was because those were songs that were really good songs, but wouldn't have fit on Dissonance Meets Harmony, which was the release before it. But I thought they were good enough and could stand on their own. But if I put them in with Dissonance Meets Harmony, that would make Dissonance Meets Harmony a weaker release. And so, again, I'm always very cautious about my releases and, what I do with them. And again, I'm not just going to just put stuff out there just because I can. And, I'll be completely honest with you. I have probably an album's worth of material written, right now. And if I really wanted to, I could make another album. But a lot of the stuff really isn't that good. It isn't ready. It isn't quite where I would like it to be yet. So there's no reason for me to put it out. And again, if I did put it out, it would be very, subpar. And I don't want to put out anything that's subpar. And especially being a, quote unquote, local musician, the expectations are a little higher for us because everyone seems to think that local musicians are, lesser than, a national or international act. And the fact of the matter is, we're all playing the same four chords. It's just our level of exposure is different. And like I said, there's bands and musicians in this area that are just as good, if not better, than anything that's out there on the radio right now. Just because they come from your backyard doesn't mean that they're any less. In fact, some of my favorite musicians are from right here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So it's just all about your perspective and how you, base your musical tastes and what you base your musical tastes on. And, some people like stuff that's really commercial. Some people like to delve a little deeper into things. And again, it's a buffet, You could have a little bit of everything. But again, I don't feel the need to keep releasing stuff. And my good friend Brian Brophy is guilty of that. He's, when he's working on one album, he's already got another album written and he's already started to think about stuff like that, stuff for that. It's like, dude, just relax. Finish the one you're working on now. Let that one simmer for a little while, then get to the next one, And then what happens is, you're juggling two things at once because you're doing one album and then you're thinking of the next one that you want to do, and either nothing ends up getting done or something ends up suffering. It's much easier to just focus on one thing and, focus all your energy and time into that. I find that the best work comes, with some patience. But that's the reason I haven't released anything in a while. And like I said, with all the releases I did, put out last year, even though there was only one technically new release and the other two were newer releases, but they're archival stuff, and the fact that they didn't really get any action, kind of made me realize, I don't really need to do anything new. But that's not to say that I haven't been working on anything, which is the next thing I'm going to get to. This past fall, I started doing some demos for what was going to be a potential side project, and did the demos and really liked how they came out. I played them for a friend of mine, and he said, they're great. And he said, but they don't sound like a side project. It sounds like Chris Hludzik. And I was kind of disappointed, and he said, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I decided, yeah, that's not a bad thing. So I have about a handful of songs that will potentially be my next release, which will be an EP. And when that's going to happen, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not in any kind of hurry to do it. I have the stuff down. I know what I want to do with it. It's not going anywhere. So when it happens, it happens. And that's really all I can tell you on that. But it's some cool stuff. I'm excited about it. Some stuff that I've wanted to do for a while, and just, again, really haven't had the space and other releases to do the stuff because it just really hasn't worked, or it wasn't the right style, or wasn't the right vibe, or it wasn't ready yet. So, but that will be probably the next thing that I will release, will be an EP of, 4 or 5 new songs. And when that happens, of course, I'll let you know. Another thing I wanted to discuss is, a lot of people have asked me, well, geez, you don't really play out that much anymore. And simple answer to not playing out that much is that there's really no place to play out in Northeast Pennsylvania. I've played pretty much everywhere there is to play. I've played every all-ages venue. I've played every open mic night. I've played showcases. I've done benefit shows. there's really nothing else. Short of me becoming a cover act, there is nowhere else for me to play. And the places I have played already, I don't feel the need to play again because I've played them before, several times in most cases. So I don't really have anything else to prove at those places. And typically, a lot of the places I have played tend to draw the same audiences or the same types of audiences. So I'm really not getting any kind of new exposure or any kind of new feedback or anything like that. So it's really not very advantageous for me to play out that much anymore. I've played every coffee house in this area, every all ages venue. I've played venues that no longer exist anymore. And that's probably the saddest thing is that, the places I play that don't exist anymore outnumber the places I've played that do exist. And a lot of the places that do still exist either aren't doing original music shows anymore or they aren't doing as much. I understand within the past couple months there have been some new places that have come about for, local music, and that's great. But again, I see that trend happening where they're booking a ton of shows as soon as they opened up, and it's just going to be overkill, overexposure, and people aren't going to care about it anymore, and it's just going to die. And sadly, that's what's happened to a lot of the original music venues in this area. And I understand people get excited. It's a new place, and it's a new place to play, but what happens is everybody kind of crams in all at once in the beginning. They cram in a ton of shows, a bunch of people go in the first couple weeks or couple months, and then after that, it's old hat, and no one cares anymore. And the other thing too is that, because this is such a small area, and because the saturation of bands and musicians in this area is what it is, a lot of the bands and artists have played all these venues multiple times, and even if they haven't played these venues multiple times, a lot of them play several times a month or several times every couple months. So you're seeing a lot of the same bands, you're seeing a lot of the same people, a lot of the same crowds, and the scene really isn't evolving. And it's been stagnant for quite a long time now, and it makes it hard for someone like me who wants to evolve and wants to play new places and wants to do new things and wants to expose my music to new people. It makes it hard for me to do that because I really don't have the ways or means to do that. So it's kind of like, the release thing. Why don't I do a lot of releases? Because there's really no point in it right now. Why don't I play a lot of shows? Because there's really no point in it right now. It's to the point where a lot of original musicians are resorting to just doing open mic nights. And the sad thing about that is I see a lot of musicians doing open mic nights and promoting them as if they're their own shows. And an open mic night is not a show. It's an open mic night. You have about 10 minutes, maybe less, usually less, and you maybe get in 2-3 songs if you're lucky, maybe 4 songs if they're really short and you don't talk to the audience. And the fact of the matter is, nobody is there at the open mic to see you. They might not be there to see anybody. They might just be there just to be there. And you're not getting paid. You're not really getting much of a chance to promote yourself other than just getting to play your songs and maybe plugging your website or your Facebook. That is, if anybody's even listening to you. And I just think it's sad that a lot of bands and musicians in this area have kind of resorted to that. And I think that's another big problem with this scene is that, it kind of devalues original musicians because a lot of us feel the need to just play open mics or play for free or play for next to nothing. And that's why, a lot of us, when we do get, our own gig that is a legitimate gig, we're usually not paid or not paid that much. And people figure, well, why should we pay them or why should we pay them that much? They're playing for free everywhere else. They're playing all these open mic nights. They're playing all these benefits. They're playing for these shows for next to nothing. And I think a standard needs to be set where that stops, especially if you're an original musician. you are worth it. You are worth getting paid, or at the very least, getting promoted, getting promotion for yourself. Just because you're doing your own songs and you're not doing top 40 covers in bars on the weekends doesn't mean that you're not a good musician. Doesn't mean that you're not worth the promotion or not worth the money. And the fact of the matter is, if you weren't worth something, these bars and these venues wouldn't have open mic nights. So, and as far as I'm concerned, open mic nights are only good for two types of musicians. Musicians who are just starting out and want to kind of get their feet wet and get used to performing in front of an audience, or for musicians who haven't played out in a long time and just want to shake off some rust. One of the other performances I did last year, because I only did two, I performed at a Dezo in April of last year, so a little over a year ago, and that was actually a show. And I went and did the NEPA Scene open mic night in October. I did it. And the only reason I went is because everybody was talking about it, and a lot of people said, oh, you should do it, you should go check it out. And I heard a lot of good things about it, and I decided, yeah, what the hell, I'll go check it out. So I went and checked it out, and I played. And I will say it was a really fun night, and the one thing I was really impressed with was how well organized it was. And a lot of open mics usually aren't very organized. So I was very happy to see that it was as organized as it was, and everything ran pretty smoothly. There was a professional sound system set up. It just wasn't like a little speaker and a cheap microphone, and you had to, or just plug your guitar and you had to scream over your guitar. It was very nice and very well done. But again, I just did it, just to kind of try to get myself out there. I didn't do it for, there was a contest aspect to it. They run a contest every week, and, people vote on, who they thought was the best or whatever. But I didn't go there to do it for the contest. I just went and did it to play. Just to do it as an experience. But again, I did it once. I don't need to do it again, And that's the way I feel with a lot of the venues that I've played around here. I played them once or twice or three times. I really don't need to play there anymore. There's no advantage there for me to play it. I'll be playing to the same people or the same types of people. I'm not growing. I'm not really gaining any more fans because it's the same people coming to the gigs typically. And, there's really no advantage there for me. So that's pretty much the reason why I haven't been, out on the live scene as much. Another reason I haven't been on the live scene as much is because, quite frankly, I'm getting sick of playing solo acoustic. I enjoy it, but so much of my music is suited for full band. And indeed, if you listen to the recorded versions of my songs, they are full band. I've never recorded anything that was just strictly acoustic. Even the stuff that I've done that was mainly, acoustic does have some percussion in it or some other instruments in it. Nothing I do has ever been meant to be just strictly acoustic guitar and vocal, although that's how I typically write my songs, and as a result they work well that way. But my stuff is really, intended for full band performance. Unfortunately, most of the people I know that are musicians have their own bands, have their own projects, have their own lives. Everybody's busy, and so, I haven't been able to get anybody together to do a full band performance. I myself have been, very busy with a lot of things in the last couple of years. 3 years ago, I had a child. Don't know if a lot of you knew that or not, but had a child 3 years ago, and obviously that takes a good chunk of your time. And I'm not complaining about it or using that as an excuse because, like I said, in the past, 3 years, I have done shows and have done releases, so certainly that hasn't taken away from that, but, it does kind of make you use your time a little differently, and, the priorities are different, and, the fact is I'm not a young man anymore, I have a wife, I have a kid, I work a day job. It's not like when I was in my early to mid-20s and I was only working part-time and I was still living at home and, I had all the time in the world to, record and write and do whatever. And all my friends didn't have full-time jobs and didn't have kids and didn't have houses and didn't have responsibilities like that. And they had the time to do it as well. It's a different world now. I'm, a decade plus into doing, my solo music, and a lot's changed in that decade. And, nothing really for the bad, just life things, And that's another reason why I haven't really done a lot of live stuff or a lot of studio stuff, because just, life, work, family, things like that. And again, the shows and the releases will come in time. I think what happens sometimes if you don't do a show or you don't put out something for a long time, everybody thinks that, oh, you're done, you've quit, you've whatever. I haven't quit, In fact, I get the itch all the time to want to, I want to play. But again, like I said, it's really not advantageous for me to play or to release anything right at this moment. I'd rather wait a little while till it feels right, till maybe some new opportunities open up to play different places or do different things or work with different people or whatever. And then I'll go out and do something. But as of right now, there's really no advantage to doing it. But again, who knows? Maybe tomorrow, something will come up. And that's the way it always seems to happen in my music career is, I'll never be expecting to get a gig, and then one week I'll get a call from somebody saying, hey, I have a couple gigs for you. And that's usually what happens, Another thing I wanted to talk about was my videos here on YouTube. I don't have a lot of subscribers. In fact, I don't really know how many I have at all, but I know I don't have a ton. I don't have my YouTube monetized or anything, so there's no ads, there's no, I don't make money off the channel, nothing like that. It's just a place for me to put videos and audio, performances and things like that, and, interview videos, promo videos, and this series right here, the Hludzik Explained series. So this is just purely, informational and, entertainment stuff. I'm not doing anything on this channel to make money or anything like that. But it would be nice if, more people did subscribe or whatever. And one thing some people have asked me is, well, why did you just disable comments on your videos? If you let people comment, maybe you get some more feedback about stuff. And the way I see it is, if you want to give me feedback, you like the video or you dislike it, or you subscribe to my channel and you turn on notifications, that's feedback enough for me, But the reason I don't have comments turned on is because, there's just too many keyboard warriors out there, and just too many people who are just don't even know who you are and just want to just be jerks on the internet because they're behind a keyboard and, they have that anonymity of the internet protecting them, so they feel that they can just say bad things and just say just the most ridiculous, stupid stuff, racist stuff, political stuff, whatever. And this isn't a place for that, This is for my music. This is for information about my music, and that's it. But with that being said, if you happen to come across one of my videos and if you like it, give it a thumbs up, like it. If you feel inclined enough to subscribe to my channel, subscribe to it. And set up notifications so you'll know when I upload a new video. And I don't upload videos a lot, so it's not like it's going to be one of those things that's annoying where it's like, oh my god, he uploaded another video. This is like the 5th one this week. It's not going to be like that. That's another thing I kind of want to get into, and this kind of ties into this, is social media. I don't really like social media. And if you follow me on Facebook, you've pretty much gotten that by now, because I never post anything. The only time I really post anything is if I have a video that I put out, or I have a release I'm promoting, or a show I'm promoting, or if one of my friends has a release or a show they're promoting, and that's it. I don't post anything political, I don't post anything about religion, I don't post anything about anything in the news. It's just music, because that's what my channel is about. It's about my music. It's a musician page on Facebook, and that's what it is. Just like my YouTube page just has, my music stuff, that's all my Facebook page is. But I don't like posting a ton of stuff, because I don't want people to feel like I'm bothering them or pestering them or anything like that. God knows there's enough people posting stupid stuff on Facebook and Instagram and whatever else on social media that people don't want to see. I only ever post stuff that's pertinent to what I do, and and that's it. And I keep it simple. But a lot of people ask me, why don't you have a Twitter, or why don't you have an Instagram? Because I think they're stupid, quite frankly. Twitter, you can only do what is it, like 120 characters you could type or something like that, or whatever it is. I have no idea. I'm probably completely wrong with that number, but the funny thing is, I look at a lot of stuff on Twitter and Instagram, and it's usually because you can't put in a ton of stuff on Twitter or Instagram. You can only put like little bits and pieces of information. They usually end up throwing out links to their website or their Facebook or their YouTube anyway. So if all you're doing is going to direct them to that website, why not just have that website? You know what I mean? I mean, to me, the Facebook is enough. Most people are on Facebook. And I also have a .com, Hludzik.com, and all the links to all my places on the web are on there. So, I'm covered as far as I'm concerned, And again, the Facebook links to the YouTube, on the YouTube I have links to this or that, and I also have links on Facebook to my SoundCloud page and my Bandcamp page and things like that. So I don't really feel a need to have all these other social media accounts that are basically just going to connect back to the one that I've had already for years and the one that I use the most anyway. It just seems kind of, frivolous, I guess. But I'm not very active on social media. And like I said, the reason is because I'm not really doing a lot right now. But when I do put something on there, it's worthwhile, I feel. So if I ever do put something out, I'd appreciate if people would look at it, because I'm not just putting it out there for the hell of it. I'm putting it out there because it pertains to something that I'm doing, or pertains to what I do or what I'm about. I'm not putting it out there to annoy anyone or to, be bothersome. Because to be honest with you, that's what turned me off of MySpace, is because all these bands would post bulletins and post this and post that, and it was just stupid stuff. It was nothing, that was important or really told me anything, or it was just posting bulletins for the sake of posting bulletins. And I feel like Facebook is kind of the same way. People just post stuff for the sake of posting stuff. But when I post something, and again, it goes back to kind of like the whole releases thing and the shows thing. I feel like when I do, it's important, If I do it all the time, it's not important anymore. So when I do, it's special. It means something. Another thing I wanted to talk about was my cover videos on YouTube. I haven't done one in probably over a year, or about a year, and I was doing them, fairly regularly. I was doing a couple a year, maybe a little more than that, probably a little more than that. But again, and that was really just more kind of promotional, because if somebody happened across, if somebody was a fan of The Who and they came across my cover of Blue, Red, and Gray, it's my sincere hope that if they liked it, they would check out my stuff, and that's the reason people do cover videos on YouTube. But I haven't really done one of those in a while, because really there haven't been any songs I've really wanted to cover that much, and I feel like a lot of the covers that I have on there pretty much, cover a lot of different ground musically, and a lot of different styles and different musicians and different eras. So I feel like it's pretty good where it's at. I don't really need to do any more of those right now. But I might do more in the future, for those of you who do like them. Another thing I want to talk about is past projects and bands that I've been involved in. A few years back, I put out a video of my first band, the Pheromones, performing at a battle of bands. It was, my first band, one of my first shows that I ever did, and I just put it up on YouTube just because, I didn't know that anybody else would, or I didn't even know if anybody else, from the band even had the footage anymore. But I saved it and I had it, and I figured, it would be a cool little thing to put up there. And I've been asked by some people, would you ever consider putting, any kind of audio of your releases with those earlier bands up on YouTube? And the answer is no. And the answer is no because I didn't write any of the songs or co-write any of them even. I, produced them, I took part in them, but I didn't write them. The initial songwriter in my first two groups was a guy named Arash Madavi, and he's since passed on. And I don't know how his family would feel if I put stuff on YouTube that he wrote or whatever. I don't know if they'd be cool with it. And I mean, I suppose I could always try to locate them and ask them if it would be okay, but it's really not my place to do it. And the only reason I put up the Battle of the Bands footage is because it's not like it's not studio quality, sound or even really good quality, video. And that's really the only reason I put it up there. I put it up there more or less as a kind of a historical artifact. But I talked. I did a description of the video. I put it as a note, I believe, or a post on my Facebook page after I posted the video, talking about the video and talking about the band. And I mentioned my second band, which was kind of born out of that first band, because it was the same guitarist, singer-songwriter, and said that was another story for another day. And again, like I said, I don't want to release any of the studio stuff that we did because, it's good quality stuff, and I wouldn't want anybody, stealing it, and then if Arash's family found out, then they're mad at me for uploading it or decide to take action against me or something like that. But I have a raw tape of our first practice session, and I mean, it's really raw and it's really rough sounding. And I also have some pictures that Arash's sister took of us as promotional pictures and pictures for our first album. Or our only album, actually, that we did. So I might make like a video slideshow of those pictures, and for the audio, I'll use the audio of our first practice. And it's like, I think the tape was like 20-something minutes long or something like that, and it's mono. I just threw up one mic in the middle of all of us, jamming out, and it sounds terrible, but it's cool. And just as a historical artifact, again, just like the Battle of the Bands thing with my first band, the quality isn't great, and really that's the only reason I would ever put it up there, is just for something historical and just to show people where I came from and what I did before I went solo. So I might do that in the near future. But as far as any like actual audio of our studio recordings, no. I would leave that up to Arash's family to do if they wanted to do it. I certainly wouldn't care if they wanted to put that stuff up there. I have no qualms about it. And again, I didn't write any of the stuff. I just co-produced it. I engineered some of it and I played on it. And other than that, I don't own any rights to it. So, but like I said, the more kind of lesser quality stuff I'll put up there because, I don't think anybody's going to, bootleg that or, steal that. And I don't think anybody would really have anything to say about it because it's not like it's perfect quality anyway. So, but other than that, those are just some little updates there for you. And just wanted to say thank you for those of you who have followed me and continue to follow me. And again, like I said, I hope that the lack of stuff coming from me has been, going on for so long. But like I said, I don't feel there's any advantage for me to really do anything like that right now and really, get too involved in putting out a lot of stuff right now. When I have other stuff out there that's, barely been exposed, And like I said, on the live front, there's just really not a lot going on in this area right now. And until there is, there's really no reason for me to play a show. And the only way I would probably want to play a show at any of the places that I've already played at a ton of times is if I got to play with a band or a musician that I've never had a chance to play with before. Other than that, there's just really nothing, really no reason for me to do anything right now. But like I said, I do have some demos, and in the future, I would like to release another EP. So like I said, I will keep everyone posted on that. But until then, I'm Chris Hludzik, and you can check me out on facebook.com/Chris Hludzik, or go to chrishludzik.com, and then you can go to the links page and find the links to everything. YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook, Bandcamp, everything. So until next time, thank you very much, and good night.